Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Korra Book 3 change news update video, and also for Avatar Comics. I haven't done one of these in a while. That's because I've kind of been waiting for some news to build up so I could put out a pretty substantial video. And I think at this stage there is a lot to do in this video. You'll notice I'm not on camera in this one, and that's because we've got a lot of images to talk about in this one, because we've got some preview pages for the Rift Part 1, some new product info on some upcoming core merchandise, and then some Book 3 images. I'll start off with those Book 3 images. As you can see here, our first one is of Mako and Bolin ready to fight in their pajamas, aka their underwear. And then the second one, as you can see here, looks like it's from the same episode, if not the same kind of scene. Is the same in Mako and Bolin, also in their pajamas, but Bolin screaming as Mako wakes up. My theory on what's going on in these images is that we know that since the end of Book 2, spirits are roaming around the world, so I'm going to assume that the reason Mako and Bolin are ready to fight in that first image, and the same reason that Bolin is screaming, is because spirits are kind of roaming around where they are, and kind of just making it a tough time for people who are to sleep. So I think that makes sense. That would fit in with this being one of the first Book 3 episodes, and that setting up basically is just a few weeks after the end of Book 2. The spirits may not be doing crazy stuff all around the place, but they're just kind of doing these little things that are annoying people who would usually go about their non-spirit lifestyle, kind of just avoiding the spirits. So pretty interesting stuff, but yep, there's not much really to them. It's just, okay, Mako and Bolin, we're going to see them in their underwear for a while, and apparently there's some I think the interesting thing is, like, where are they? It looks like maybe Air Temple Island, but who knows. Next up, we'll go into the Rift Part 1 preview. We have an 8-page preview thanks to Previews World. We've been waiting for this for a while, and we finally have it. This is probably the most mysterious, in a way, comic series that we've had so far, because the promise we expected it to just be, almost immediately after the end of the series, covering stuff that makes sense to be covered, Aang and Zuko becoming leaders and how they deal with that. The second series was focused on Zuko's mother, which made sense. We kind of knew what to roughly expect, even though a lot of it was a surprise. With this series, though, the interesting thing is that we really aren't quite sure about what to expect from it, because it's not obviously linked into Avatar The Last Airbender. We know it's going to focus around Republic City and stuff like that, but this preview really gives us a nice insight into it. So going through it kind of page by page, I think it's really interesting. Aang's obviously bringing some of his air acolytes around the place to deal with this new festival, the Yang Chen festival, that hasn't been celebrated in 100 years. And it's just interesting, just some nice continuity, like obviously some of the air acolytes put air nomad tattoos on themselves when they weren't meant to, so they're kind of covered up. So that's an interesting bit of continuity. We got some flashbacks going into page 2, which I think is really impressive and really interesting. There's a mystery set up straight away with what that statue actually is. Aang reveals later on he doesn't know what it is. And it's just getting deep into the air nomad culture, which is something we didn't really get to do in Avatar The Last Airbender. Only through the flashbacks with Aang we got to see some of that. Into the third page, we see that Toph is with the group, which is interesting in itself. It's kind of be interesting to see what the setup for, like, why she and Aang are there with some of the air acolytes. But yeah, some other stuff there. And then going into page 4, you see the gliders that they use, some of Monkey Atso again, which is pretty emotional for Aang. Katara is also there, as is Sokka in the background, we see. Then going to the next page, we see, again, the focus on the mystery. No one knows who it is. Sokka expected it to be Yang Chen. I'm sure everyone else did too. But it turns out it's just someone they don't really know who it is. Aang missed out on the lectures while it was being explained who it was. And so there's some interesting stuff being set up here. It's mentioned that Yang Chen supposedly defeated a powerful dark spirit, and that's kind of one of her big claims to fame, which is a big piece of information on Yang Chen because, as far as we knew in the past she was the Avatar in a time of peace, and I assume that's just that war wasn't going on. There was obviously these little things, and maybe that's what it is. And then going to the end of page 6, we see Yang say that's just how it's done, just following these traditions as you're meant to. And this hits Toph hard because she's heard this so much throughout her childhood, getting into what I think is going to be one of the most interesting parts of this book, and that is Toph and her parents being dealt with at last. This is probably the biggest unanswered question apart from Iroh's backstory that we have in the show, in that it was set up. It was even potential to be resolved with the runaway when Toph sent the letter on hockey to her parents. But then I think the promise mentioned that she still had issues with her parents, and now they're finally coming back to that, and we see some flashbacks once again. I think flashbacks are an excellent way to really show some of this stuff. It's pretty important to go back and do this, and we get to see a younger Toph looking at the kids outside. One of the kids looks exactly like Sokka, which is pretty interesting, but that's just how it's done, and that seems to be one of the kind of themes of this. At least these first opening pages, that's just how it's done, and it's going to be interesting to see where to go with Toph on this, because it's a fairly emotional opening, dealing with Aang and Toph's backstory, mystery setup. I'm very impressed with what this preview has shown, and I can't wait for the book to come out. March 5th is the release date for the Rift Part 1. That's in comic book stores, and then from Amazon and regular bookstores, the release date is March 18th, 13 days later. Finally, let's get into the final piece of news. This is thanks to the Dark Horse solicitations for March, but the release date for this stuff is the 7th of May, I believe. And it's some Korra merchandise that kind of came out of nowhere. Just briefly listing it off, there's a Korra, Legend of Korra coaster set, a Legend of Korra patch for air, earth, fire, and water. There's a Legend of Korra pin set, and a Legend of Korra pint glass set. So let's start off with the first thing, which is the coaster set, as you can see here. It's using the different elements here, obviously the symbols for the elements. The description says that these are the element symbols. There's a little bit of confusion over, obviously, the way I'd see the Air Nomad symbol usually would be the 3 spirals that are kind of organized in a triangle, but apparently that's the Air Nomad symbol or the Air Bending symbol, while these are the element symbols or nation symbols. But there's a lot of confusion because that's not the Fire Emblem Fire Nation insignia that I'd usually expect. I usually expect the more kind of detailed one. Same goes for the air one, and same goes for the earth one as well. The earth one, I'd more expect the kind of weird kind of square at the bottom going up into a triangle at the top symbol. So it's a pretty weird kind of group of symbols, especially the color pattern on them, like just like gray, black, and orange as the color pattern for this sort of stuff, and these symbols continue throughout all of them. Like the coaster set, it says the retail price is $9.99 for the set of 4. The patches for each of them, as you can see here, are $4.99 each, and each is just they're sold separately. We've got the pin set, which again uses the same symbols, and they're $5.99 for the set. And then last but not least is the Legend of Korra pint glass set, which is 5 of them. Oh no, wait, no, it's 4 of them. They're just showing a rear view in the middle. And they say Legend of Korra on them, and again have the symbols. $29.99 for the 4 glasses, pretty expensive. To me, this is just a really weird announcement. This is the sort of merchandise that I don't think is going to sell as well as you would think. The only one of these I'd be in any way interested in is probably the pin set, just because it's small. And it's an easy way to get these 4 designs on merchandise for pretty cheap. But again, if you're looking for glasses, obviously Legend of Korra ones are obviously the way to go. I'm not really sure what the patches are used for, and coasters are not something I really use. But interesting that there is actually some Legend of Korra merchandise coming out. The problem is the description mentions it's all about book 1 stuff, and they mention that this is their first kind of Dark Horse's first non-book merchandise release as well. Just a really weird announcement for me. But yeah, a lot of interesting news this week. Definitely let me know in the comments on YouTube what your thoughts on this stuff is. I think the Rift preview is amazing, and I can't wait for that book to come out. The book 3 images are definitely interesting, but I'm definitely looking at this stage to see who the new book 3 characters are. And then the merchandise is just weird choice. Like, I would expect like action figures and stuff like that to come before coaster sets and stuff like that, because I think they'd sell better. But anyway, thanks for watching this video, and bye.